I was originally a member of the Australian Federal Police, and back in 2002, we set up a body called the Australian High-Tech Crime Centre, which was actually heavily mirrored on the UK National High-Tech Crime Unit. I was asked to be one of the team leaders of investigations, and I took that role for 5 years and then worked in many other, call it cybersecurity roles after that. Back in 2012, the Australian government was looking for an assurance program, and it cast its eye around the world and settled on the CREST model. And I was part of the team that brought CREST to Australia, and the Australian Commonwealth Government seed funded that, and we made a success of it and created a strong, vibrant and successful chapter, which is still going today. Well, CREST is going through really exciting times at the moment, whether it's exam sets, whether it's certifications, growing its membership base, training and education and conferencing. So I'm really pleased to be part of it, and my role is to work with the rest of the advisory board to see how we can make CREST really successful in the Australasian market. And that includes growing it in all of its metrics. Part of that is working with the great team out of the UK, from the president down, to leverage off the success of CREST internationally and make sure that Australia leads the way in everything that is CREST. CREST in Australia has been around since 2012, so we have a long history of undertaking exams, getting new members, certifying them, dealing with government and the private sector to make sure that there is assurance in the cybersecurity market, both organisationally and individually. We're carrying on that work with more exam sets, and there's lots of innovation going on with that, with our own exam tower, which improves student experience and better utilisation and lower latency. But we're also in the process of planning a conference, which was going to be for 2020, but coronavirus put paid to that, now for hopefully Q1 or Q2 of 2021. Apart from that, we're talking with government, and we're talking with them about critical infrastructure protection, about a whole range of issues, and how the CREST model and plan can provide government with assurance that their public policy that they're trying to create can be best fit and best achieved by CREST member companies. UNSW Canberra Cyber is a multidisciplinary research, training and education centre based at the Australian Defence Force Academy. We do undergraduate cyber degrees for defence training officers, but most importantly, we have Australia's largest cohort at over 400 master's students doing one of 3 master's degrees, 2 that are very technical and 1 that is policy based. We also do a range of professional education, both for government and the private sector. And that's everything from cybersecurity boot camp, which is a 101 introductory course, through to really heavy technical courses, including secure code, cyber offense, cyber defense, review of critical infrastructure, and a whole range of other really technical courses. And our other role is to support the academics in their research endeavours. The best training and education arrives from the best research that we can do. And we have some world-leading researchers, and we match them with the government, including defence operators, to how they can improve and look at the wicked problems that are facing Australian society. My day-to-day role is pretty broad. I deal with the researchers and provide them with the best research opportunities that they can go for. I work closely with the School of Engineering IT when it comes to the delivery of master's courses. Indeed, being multidisciplinary, I work across all schools in the faculty and the campus as a whole. Also talk a lot with the private sector, particularly those that deal with defence and what we call defence prime organisations, about how we can skill their people up so that when they're doing jobs for defence, they're doing them in the best, safest and secure manner. So there's a lot to do. It's a pretty exciting time for the cybers globally, let alone in Australia, and we're not short of ideas of how we can really grow training, education and research. I think the most important thing for young people getting into cybersecurity, and that's not just necessarily young in age, it's young in your career, is don't worry about what your background is. You have so much to bring, whether you want a technical career, a governance, risk and compliance career, or anything in between. So my advice probably is to look at all the opportunities and don't specialise too early. Get a really good grounding Learn how to code, even if it doesn't particularly interest you and you'll never do it. It's really good when you're talking to people what secure code actually means. Learn risk and compliance. Again, it might not really float your boat, but it's an important aspect of any job, particularly cyber. And also, really enjoy what you're doing. It's super dynamic what's going out there. There's so much happening with technology, whether it's the use of the cloud, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's mobile smart devices. Get amongst it and make a difference. The internet is littered with lots of really good reading, whether it comes from, let's say, the CREST website, which has got lots of good information on it, but there's also other industry bodies and not-for-profits and governments that are out there that really put a lot of data about the whole industry and about being safe and secure online, whether you're a government, whether you're a corporate, or whether you're an individual. There's lots of blogs out there, there's lots of Twitter feeds, there's lots of everything. So as much as a lot of this is drinking from a fire hose of information, pick your sources, enjoy the reading and skill yourself up as much as possible. And even if it's a podcast a week or even more, the more that you can learn, the more that you can hoover up, the better off your career will be. So I wrote my first book called Cybercrime, The Reality of the Threat, and it came out in 2007. Obviously, it was written in 2006, and it's missing large chunks of things like there was no social media back then. So it's really interesting looking back at that publication and looking at the massive changes. Since then, I've written Cybersecurity, The Challenge for the Legal Profession, and I've also written a book called Technology for Company Directors. My next book, which is coming out in 2021, is for the 20-year anniversary of cybercrime legislation in Australia, and will be a retrospective look at how we've dealt as a nation, both government, individually and corporately, in dealing with the cybercrime threat. I see the cybersecurity industry evolving quite a lot. There's an awful lot written about the skill shortages and there is, but there's also a lot of technology that's coming to the forefront. Whilst we think of traditional penetration testing being the black arts, more of a manual pursuit, there's lots of vulnerability scanning tools, which, whilst I'll be the first to acknowledge, aren't the same, but they are rapidly catching up and being a force multiplier. So I can see a lot of technological advances which will really assist cybersecurity practitioners to actually do more work and be more effective. And that's where I think we'll cover up from the skill shortages. We'll actually eventually need less people